veterans benefits. The gentleman in the back said, define a veteran, so let's do that. First of all, what are we talking about here? We're basically talking about veterans 65 years and older, and this is a pension. It's referred to as the aid and attendance pension benefit. And if you haven't heard of it, don't be surprised, because most people have not. In fact, only about 5% of the veterans that are entitled to this benefit are receiving it now, which is really unfortunate. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. Financial assistance to disabled veterans, and don't be thrown off by that term disabled. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. But it's a good amount of money. For a married veteran, the monthly benefit is $19.49 a month. For a single veteran, $16.44 a month. These are 2011 rates. And then for a widow of a veteran, the VA will pay a widow $10.56 a month. Just, if you would bear with me for 1 second.
Define the term veteran.
I will. Yes, sir, I will. And all these benefits are paid tax-free. And so it doesn't affect your Social Security. So it's a non-service connected benefit. So in other words, what that means is I don't have to prove, for example, that I was in Vietnam and I was exposed to Agent Orange, and now I'm claiming this benefit because of Parkinson's or a stroke or Alzheimer's. I don't have to prove that. Disability ratings are not required, but it is needs-based, which we'll talk about. Okay, so eligibility, so wartime service, so we're talking about a wartime veteran, and I'll explain what they mean by disability as well as net worth and the income requirement. So the veteran must have served during a wartime, which we'll go over in a moment, for at least 90 consecutive days of active duty, at least one day of which must have been during a wartime, and they must have been honorably discharged, or at least not dishonorably discharged. Here are the dates of the war. Again, this is a benefit for folks 65 and over primarily. So we're looking at World War II, December of 41 till the end of 1946, according to the VA. If you were a veteran in World War II up until December 31st of 46, you qualify. Korea, June of 1950 through January of 55. Now, Vietnam veterans are reaching the age where they are turning 65 and they're entitled to the benefit, and those are their years of service, and it's a little earlier if you were actually boots on the ground in Vietnam itself. Then that starts in February of 1961. Otherwise, outside of Vietnam, it's August of 64 through May of 75. Okay, so that's the periods of service. What about disability? Well, the good news here is that under the VA rules, if you're 65 or older, you're disabled. We don't have to go any further than that. You're disabled under the rules. Now, if you're under 65, it's a little more tricky. You have to prove that you're receiving Social Security disability or in a nursing home or one of those other items on the list there. But if you're 65 or older, you have wartime service during those dates, we're in good shape. Now, there's also a net worth requirement, but again, I encourage you to hear me out again on this one, because I can't tell you how many veterans I've spoken to on this one, and because they've called the VA says, how much money do you have? And they say 150,000, 200,000, whatever the number may be. And the VA says, oh, sorry, you don't qualify, end of conversation. And the veteran, understandably, because that's what the VA told them, the veteran doesn't take it any further than that. But there are things that we can do to get you to qualify. But as a rule of thumb, a single person, if you have 40,000 or more in assets as a single person, then 40,000 is the cap. Or for a married couple, the cap is about 80,000. Now that does exclude the home, a car, small amounts of life insurance, burial insurance, etc. But everything else is included. But what the VA doesn't tell you when you make that phone call is you can put these assets on over into a trust. For example, the Asset Protection Trust. And it tells you this if you read the VA website. It says this right on the VA website, that it is perfectly legal for the veteran to put assets into a trust. And the great thing about the VA benefit, unlike Medicaid, is there's no look-back period. So the veteran who has 200,000 or 300,000 in CDs, let's say, can put those assets on over into a trust and apply literally the next day for the VA benefit. So very, very useful there for the veteran in the right situation. Now, one more thing that you should be aware of here, this benefit really works best if you're in a facility. For example, if you're somewhere like here, like Our Lady of Peace, is where the numbers work best. Because, see all these acronyms here, the government loves all these acronyms. What does this all mean? Well, UME, that's unreimbursed medical expenses, equals IVAP, which is your income for VA purposes. So basically what it all comes down to is once you reach the point where your income is lower than your expenses are higher, then you qualify for the benefit. Let me give you an example of what that means. Let's say I'm here at Our Lady of Peace, I'm paying as a veteran $3,000 a month to be here. My income is $2,500 a month, so I qualify for the benefit because my expenses exceed my income. But we can protect some of the income over in the trust here, and again, it's perfectly allowable. The VA encourages this type of planning. So this can be a very, very useful benefit as an interim measure or even long-term for a veteran in the right circumstances. But the important thing is when you're doing this is that you work with someone who understands all these rules. I'm an accredited attorney by the VA administration. I've taken extra training, education, etc. to understand all these rules. It's important that you work with someone who does understand them, because that what you do to qualify for VA benefits can affect you negatively for Medicaid later on. So for example, a veteran could give away all his assets to his kids to qualify for the VA benefit, but what if he needs Medicaid later on? That gift to the children will prevent him from receiving Medicaid. And oftentimes I meet with clients, I meet with folks in the office. they say, Simon, you know, I don't care about Medicaid. I don't care about the rules. I don't want to hear about all that stuff. That's not for me. But bear in mind, you know, we're looking 5 years in a nursing home. We're looking $400,000. The fact is that approximately 70% of people in the nursing home are on Medicaid. I mean, that's just a fact. Because again, for most of us, how long is it going to be before you run out of money? So I say to those folks, at least just, you know, hear me out. At least just keep your options open, because none of us know, you know, what the future holds. So let's plan for that. We've already covered this. Gifts that are okay for VA are not allowed for Medicaid. Okay, so we had a question at the beginning about Medicaid, and I've referred to that a couple of times. So let's talk about what is Medicaid.